Trying to finish all these projects I'm trying to get them out.
The mic is on, but the show hasn't started. Now it's
Oh, not
fixing
yet.
to.
So everybody can hear us.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. I hope everybody's doing okay. See, we're getting a few people over in the chat. We got SD70 BN Eagle River. Ken Amos, rock and roll. Brad's here from down under. How you doing, Jeff? Dwight's here, shivering in his boots. David M. Michael. All right, I think that kind of takes care of everybody. Fred E. just come in. How you doing, Fred? How you doing, Joe?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, this is Jack. I was like, maybe he said Joe. I am doing well. Working on a client's fictional railroad. It's called the Andrew County in Wyeth. So I've been doing all the decal work on there.
Yeah.
And next step is weathering, which I am working on right now.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if
I'm
it's
staying
your
busy.
internet or what, but you're not quite in focus. Getting a lot of pixelation.
Let me get out and come back in again. Maybe that'll help. I'm also on
Yeah.
my phone, and we had bad storms here in Arkansas.
Oh,
So that could
okay.
be.
Well, if you're on your phone, that kind of explains it.
Okay.
But yeah.
Let me come back in and see what happens.
All right. Adrian, how you doing?
No, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
It's clear right now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've had a busy past 2 weeks, that's for sure. All right. The only thing we got next week is, I guess I get a break. We got Big Bill's Who's Big Bill Talking To on 25th, and then back to the Thursday show. Also, April the 1st is Who's Big Bill Talking To. So last night was Bill's show with Scott Thornton and the Proto Throttle. Well, everybody being home, the internet's kind of screwed up. I noticed the live feed on YouTube is buffered a little bit, meaning it's got high traffic. So everybody being home, we got a lot of people on at one time. So, but I did go back last night and put all the interruptions, cut all them out, and put it all back into one video, and that is up on our YouTube channel now for Bill's show last night without the interruptions. So it'll make it a little easier to view. But so go check it out if you decided not to watch the live show because of the interruptions. I know after I got it put back together, it took me a while to get it uploaded on YouTube, a lot longer than normal. Hey, Gino, morning. It's evening, Gino. Oh, man.
Depends on how long of a nap you've had.
Yeah. Well, SD70 said that he may be getting a GS4. All right, that's good. And
The new ones. I'm hoping.
Oh, there's John 2618. How you doing, John? I didn't see you come slipping in there. Yeah.
These are different size. These are the 36s. I think so.
But
Yep, 36.
so everybody's got a lot more time. I see a few of them said they're working on their layouts. Anybody want to elaborate on what they're doing?
I'm still in the planning stage.
Yeah, I know Gino's coming along pretty good on his layout now.
Yeah.
Lloyd's been
Where's that?
doing good on
I
his.
don't know this one.
Lloyd's been making a lot of progress too. Look like he's finished his latest structure, all except for he needs to weather it now. At least the photos I saw is just painted. Gino
Yeah.
said he's doing scenery work.
Oh, I want to. Oh, if I can, maybe virtually, I'll come over virtually and online and work on scenery.
Yeah,
Been building my diorama. Finally working on the second part of my video for the diorama build. Finally got my computer issues worked out. I'm behind like 20 videos for YouTube.
yeah.
Now I got all the time in the world to work on them.
Adrian said that he's got the last of the Pico turnouts, 2 remaining.
Nice. That's gonna feel great once you finish that and the wiring and they work well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they
Pico's
work.
a
Period.
good.
We want them working. Period.
Yeah, Pico's a good turnouts anyway. SD70 said paint up a C44W to look like the Norfolk Southern Conrail Heritage unit.
Oh, nice.
There's
Hey,
Andy.
Andy.
Gentlemen,
David, he said he's got bench working foam. Is up on his spare bedroom switching layout. Dwight's doing a little here, a little there, spending most of the time building. 125th model cars and airbrushing them. Oh, Fred E. said he's doing the pond with scenic water first time. Okay, you just use drywall plaster to seal around the foam and then paint. Doesn't matter what you use it for the water, Fred. Make sure you got that thing sealed real good. If it's near the edge of the layout, I'd suggest pouring water in everything once you get it dried, all the paint and plaster and everything's dried. Pour a bunch of water in there, let it sit for a couple hours, see if it stays. Otherwise, you're going to find your scenic water on the floor.
yeah, boy, it finds a hole, and you think it's very viscous when you pour the stuff. The natural instinct is to think that that viscous material will not fall out, but it does for whatever reason. Man, it's something.
Yeah. Adrian said the Golden Spike was done a week ago. Got them running now after a year. Well, good for you, Adrian.
Nice.
I'm envious.
I don't know how folks back in the day used to inhale, what do you call it, paint spray and paint cans and stuff. Man, I almost choked on this stuff. Woo, that was strong. I forgot to open up the window, and it backfired on me in my my paint booth.
Yeah. There come Rob.
Man, that's one.
Yeah, Fred said thanks for the bid on the water. I'll try it. Yep. Hey, that's what we're here for. Trying to head you off before you have an accident or a mistake.
Phew. That stuff will make you cuckoo.
Well, that's nothing new for you.
I know I'm crazy.
Yeah, Gino says he's getting his stage tracks done, and hopefully he can drive the Golden Spike soon. That'll be good.
Nice.
What'd you say, Tim? I guess he says nothing.
Trying to eat some supper.
Okay. Well, go eat. Then you can come back in.
I think I had a friend of mine. He's not into trains, but he's wondering what the wheel bearings are, especially now with the ones with the River Counter series of the rolling stock from scale trains, and the rolling bearings actually move. And he goes, "Wow, those are pretty cool hubcaps." I'm like, "Well, I guess in a railroad it can be hubcaps."
They're bearing caps, but yeah,
Yeah,
technically still kind of the same thing.
right. I told you you're not wrong.
Well, let's see if that's going to do any better. It looks like my meter was jumping when the panel meter was, when people are talking on the panel, which caused the echo last time. So I'll put the headphones back on and see what happens.
Well, I tried to watch somebody else's live stream during the day today, and Adam Savage from Mythbusters fame had a
Yeah.
live stream today building something, and so I tried to watch a bit of it, and I see he had some of the pain we were having yesterday today, so I was hoping this went pretty well. Today, jury's still out as of yet, but he was sure having trouble.
And also, you got a lot of musicians, entertainers doing stuff online now, so everything is overloaded since no one could go to concert.
According to our service provider here, we're not supposed to see any interruptions
Yeah,
due
it's
to
not
the
about.
extra amount of people on.
Well, all internet service providers, all of them, overbill their service. So if they sell 1,000 people 100 meg internet, they're not providing to where 1,000 people could have 100 megs of actual usable throughput. Very few of us use our internets. I mean, even as heavily as I use mine. I mean, with a rack of network equipment. Very few of us really push our services very hard for very long. It's all burst traffic. But when you have this many people using it, as tremendously as we probably are for a host of reasons, keeping up with the news, paying attention to what's going on, a lot of people at home that may or may not be otherwise, we're probably oversaturating from time to time. I wouldn't expect that it would be a constant problem, but I do suspect that. I mean, I'm an internet service provider as well. I only have about 80 or 90 customers, though, and we're seeing heavier than normal usage at times of the day that we don't normally have such heavy usage. So,
Right.
All right, we got a question from Michael here. He said he's making a few Pensy catenary poles. Wants to know how tall he should make the outer poles. He's thinking about 7 inches. Not running wire, just building the complete pole.
yeah, I would have to look that up again. I have some information on those. It's been a while since I thought about this, but I had planned originally a long time ago to do catenary over a section of the layout, and back before I moved to this modern era, and I'd done some research. There's a guy who builds brass structures who has built those poles um, that are Pennsylvania or Norfolk and Western standard catenary or Northeast corridor catenary. So depends on the era or whatever. What I would do, and I have to try to find it. I have to try to find that gentleman and post it on our Facebook page or something. Um, and you can just look at his example. There's also a gentleman who's making them and selling them on Shapeways. So if you went to Shapeways and searched for PRR catenary, at least you can get the dimensions from it. And you can buy the insulators and the wire hangers and some of those pieces from him. And some of that stuff in 3D printing would be great. I had always planned to use brass and etched metal for all of my poles for integrity reasons. But if I can find that guy, I'll post him on our Facebook page. But try searching on Shapeways as well. But
And
7's not bad.
especially if he decides to do operations, you want something that's not going to fall down or break apart because catenaries are very fragile as it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
that's
that-
So
easy.
going brass soldering is the best way to go, in my opinion.
It's also going to depend on where along the line it's at, onto what kind of poles and how tall they're going to be.
Right. If it's Northeast Corridor or is it are we well actually he's on the chat. Is it Northeast Corridor or like Pennsylvania Railroad or New Haven? What's all actually that's all
He
Northeast all
said
really the same
Pennsylvania.
region.
He said
Pennsylvania
Pennsylvania.
Railroad.
That's about the same as Northeast Corridor or identical to the Norfolk and Western that I was going to model. 7 or 8
Right.
inches, 7 to 8 inches is about right because the catenary hung about 3.5 inches high, just above the locomotive. That's your wire height. The actual hanger would have been about 4 inches, and the pole's about twice as high as the hanger because you've got all the high wires running up, the feeder wires running for the power plant. So that's a good approximation if approximate's all you care about. But that information is available. Another source of information that's not completely or perfectly relevant, but they are the exact same poles is the the Norfolk and Western Historic Society, NWHS. I think it's NWHS.org. They have the drawings available, and as long as you don't need them in a high quality print, which you can order and pay a few bucks for, they're free to browse. You can look at the prototype dimensions, which will be somewhere in the 60 feet range or so.
I mean, you can go on Google Maps right now and still look it up, especially up around the Strasburg area. They still have some of the old catenaries up there,
Well, Northeast Corridor,
depending on what era.
well, they're still running them. Northeast Corridor is still running catenary, obviously.
No, I mean,
Same poles. Some of
they've
them.
got some of the old original poles still in use.
Yeah, if he goes on Virtual Rail Fan, you can look at there's a few videos, live videos of how tall they are. I mean, you can do that. You can look at any video for that matter. But that's just the first thing that came to mind was Strasbourg, because sometimes they have freight cars just sitting there, and so it's easier to judge. Because sometimes maybe it's hard to judge if the train's going through it in the video. I don't know, maybe not. And catenaries always fascinated me.
You playing with your new thrall, Andy?
I'm getting ready to start working on that. I was just running the train back and forth a little bit to make sure. To make sure that it would work over. That I haven't messed with the wiring and staging recently, so or mess with it. So I just wanted to make sure it would run back and forth real quick, and that I was getting good electrical conductivity. And now I'm going to start firing up the new throttle. But it does run. I do have power through tracks, so eliminate that.
Gino wants to know, Andy, when did you swap to modern?
3 months ago.
Well, yeah, something like that. I mean, it took me a while to commit to that. But I was getting frustrated with some of the things related to Steam and them being kind of unreliable stuff. Not to mention, I'm watching so many people do two things that seriously change, or three things that seriously change my mind. One is the inconsistency of Steam locomotives that were out there. Two is all the weathering that I'm seeing everybody do. Mainly Ralph, watching him here on the channel do stuff that is totally appropriate for the era I'm modeling, and not at all appropriate for 1950. And number three is that all the really awesome stuff that's coming out from Scale Trades, Exact Rail, Tangent, even Walters or after Genesis, all of that stuff is in that late 60s, early 70s and up. So I've moved to, I think, 87. I'm still working with a number. It'll be around 85 to 88, somewhere in there. I think I'm leaning toward committing to April or May of 87. But man, there's some really cool stuff. I mean, I grew up rail fanning in that era. In '87, you would have Norfolk Southern stuff painted in Norfolk Southern livery because they've been around a couple years at this point. But you're still seeing Southern high hood and tuxedo paint. I know, Gino, you gotta love that stuff. I know you do. And man, Southern high hoods and tuxedo is just a thing of beauty. And some Norfolk and Western blacks and blues. And since I modeled the CSX as an operational interchange, and I have a CSX through mainline that has through staging that crosses over here, that I've also got, post 84 and especially post 86, I have the CSX post merger. So I've got, L&N, family line system, Clinchfield, of course, which that's what this line was, C&O, B&O, Chassis System, Western Maryland, and the new CSX original gray and blues, or stealth scheme is what we used to call them. They call it something else, but no yellow noses. Yeah, they're all just gray and blue, but
All right, Michael wants to know, where do you live, Joe?
I currently live in Arkansas, northwest Arkansas.
Mm.
I am about 35 minutes north of Van Buren,
Yeah. And
in
Marty,
Ozark National Forest.
yeah, Marty just checked in and said, yes, the virus is not killed tomorrow yet.
good to know. We're all worried.
And hi, Robert. He just popped in a few minutes ago. Adrian said that's close to the years I'm running. I'm running modern when all the flags were running.
Yeah, man. Well, all the rainbow of colors is super interesting. The wide range of available cars that you get that are much more interesting to me personally than the truly late generation modern stuff. You've got cars like open auto racks, you know, and now you could really appreciate those god awful mid '80s cars, but I haven't figured out what I want to put on them. But you get a model some actual cars out in the open that you could see. And I'm not as big a fan of containers. I will do a few of them, but if you model modern, most places containers have taken over, and a few containers is great, but I still want to run boxes and a more wide diversity of cars. So it's a real rainbow era.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
Gino said that he was having the same issues with steam. He moved up to 79, 83-ish. A lot of old with a splash of the new. And Robert said
Yeah.
he's running 83 to present.
But I like anything that is right around the merger period. And by all means, I could see somebody wanting to model just before merger when they were doing all these contracts and they were just starting to do pool power and such. But modeling just past the mergers, especially just past the NS merger, you're getting that, those ranges of locomotives. And again, if you model the CSX, just past the CSX merger, you've got, I don't know, 10 railroads basically that were merged together that, the chassis hadn't painted a whole lot of their locomotives yet. The family line system hadn't painted a whole lot of theirs yet. So you still got all the original liveries and the liveries that they started merging together in 77, 78. You still, in 80, 81, and you still got all those up. So I kind of landed around 87. Something of interest. I've been thinking about that for a couple months now and chatting on here with the group to help, to help determine if I was crazy. Granted, hanging out in the nightly chats, if you ask anybody if I'm crazy, they all agree that I am. But I was watching a Scale Trades video today, and Shane was talking about he was starting on his own layout. He had started the planning for a double deck layout in his basement, and he's going to model 87. So I'm not exactly sure of the year myself. He's going to model Appalachian Railroading, as am I, in 1987. And I had been thinking about, couldn't decide, 85, 86, 87. I'm leaning more toward 87.
All right, BN Eagle said he's doing BN 79 to 85. Hey, Lord, how you doing? He just popped in. He said June 24th, 1972.
Well, and it's all about there are people who model an exact day, and I appreciate some of that. I want to model. Oh, okay. So first, people could say that they are modeling 1984 to 1994 if they want to. First things first, you can't model all 12 years. Well, I mean, or all 12 months rather. Lloyd is. He's modeling the multiple seasons on his layout, but most of us, don't want to operate from summer into winter operationally. Not to mention, especially in Appalachia, the trains that run in the summer are very different than the trains that run in the winter. Those are two different types of payloads. So, very different. So, all of us that have scenic our layout to one season are modeling a couple month period. Now, you might be modeling April, May, and it could be 84, or it could be April, May of 89. That's viable, but it's only a couple months. And I think Tony Custer said, I'm not positive he's the one who said this, so I may be attributing it to him, but someone said, one of the famous model railroaders said, if you model a range of years, let's say you're modeling 1970 to 1980, he says, what you're doing is modeling 1980, but you're modeling 1980 poorly, which is fine. But that's what I would say is go to the high side of the year you want to go and say it's that year, and then just give yourself more tolerance to run some equipment that would have been deprecated or retired or sold off. Give yourself a little more freedom with the equipment you run and pick the high side of the years, because you're not going to say you're modeling 70 to 80 and run locomotives as if it were 1970 that haven't been invented yet. But what you could do is run 1980 and say, well, they haven't got rid of the Jeep 24s yet. I mean, that's tenable. That's reasonable.
Right. And for me, I'm a huge Conrail fan. So I love my S80 Max. Those are my favorite engines besides S40-2. So for me, I model 1989, the year I was born, all the way to almost the merger year. Well, about 1998 is what I model. But I also model in the fall of each one of those years. So it's a specific time of the decade. It's in the fall all the time.
So why not just model 89 and then because I understand that there may be some equipment that was on the railroad in 79 that you want to model that was not on the railroad in 89 or whatever the years were. But if you model that late year, the last year that you're interested in, just give yourself the freedom of not being 100% accurate. None of us are 100% accurate anyway, so that's the compromise you choose. But if you model the top year, then just say that the railroad had, still had some of that stuff that they may or may not have had at that time.
So model 1998 in the fall, because from all the time, still had all those engines they were still using at the moment, up to
That's
the
right.
latest engines, which were the
But it's not.
SC70, SC80 Mac.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's not reasonable to say that you're modeling 1990 and running locomotives that have not yet been invented. That, I mean, again, by all means, do whatever you want to do. If you want to model 1998, run it in steam power. Just make up yourself a story that says the railroad's never dieselized. I mean, so be it. It's your railroad. But I'm saying you get the exact same thing by saying you're modeling 1998 and just give it's a more believable lie
Oh,
of the
absolutely.
lies that are out there. It's a more believable lie to just say 1998, and it just happens that we're still running, whatever, Jeep 18s, whatever it is.
All
Right,
right.
which the Continental did for the longest time.
Excursion
Um,
service.
All right, we got a little bit of a war, I think, started here between Robert and Lloyd. It looks like they're trying to be another Ralph and Andy here. Robert Holloman, I'm doing spring, early summer of '83 through present, and Lloyd came back. Wow, Robert, it takes you 37 years to run a train. LOL. Good one, Lloyd. But Rob, how are you? He said in '85 you could go to Cone Yard in southeast St. Louis and see B&O, C&O, WM, Chassis, L&N, Family Lines, SCL, Seaboard System, and once in a while a clinch field, just in one place with even more passing by. And he said, by the way, Andy wasn't on the clinch field that day.
And this is a Clinchfield line. I was originally modeling 1950 Clinchfield, Norfolk and Western. Clinchfield had trackage rights in 1950. My plan didn't change that much for 87. I do have to modify a couple things related to structures, but I build all my structures on dioramas, so I pop it out and put a blank in with some gravel on it or whatever. It is going to be CSX, but just after the merger, especially for the CSX, which is why I'm not setting my time period like 83, which is right after the NS merged. Not to mention, I love the C39-8s that come out in 84, 85. They're just super mean running logos forward the way the Norfolk Southern run them. But if you're modeling 86 or later, you're into that early CSX era. And all these lines away from the big transcons and such all had an absolute plethora of equipment that went on them. And they started putting out kind of crappy equipment into local service and pusher service. So the local interchange job will be a smattering of whatever the most beat up locomotives they had would be, which again lets me enjoy that awesome, really good weathering stuff that I'm interested in. I can run some real rattle traps.
Yeah, Marty said he models '83 in Victorian Railway and V line. The trains are getting less and the vehicles getting more running room. And Brad came back and said, Marty, planes and boats must be the next for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he's that far away from planes. He's already been talking about projectors on the backdrop, which really got my interest when Scott last night said that he had done something with the guys at Iowa Scale Engineering to emulate the shadows that clouds cast. I had never thought about it. What a crazy rabbit hole that sent me down to think about.
Yeah. Dave, BNSF, said 95, 2005, lots of Western paint schemes.
Yeah.
But see, that's kind of a joy of modeling a later era that I originally was, because the early era that I was originally modeling, there's very little pull. There's not pull power in 1950. Nowadays, I plan on buying a Union Pacific locomotive and a BN locomotive because, that was a thing that didn't exist in 1950. That, just another thing that excited me about moving to 87.
Yeah, and that's and like we're talking about for 1998. For me, I love old Alco units and old GE stuff from the 60s and the 70s. And so I was like, well, how can I run my modern stuff with those older engines? And I said, oh, well, have a fictional short line that holds all those locomotives, all those different types of Alcos.
or
And that's
or a
how
historic railroad.
What?
Have a historic railroad.
Right, or that too, right. And that's
But
what
that's
just
another
Like Strasburg.
Yeah.
Strasburg, they still run all that other stuff. Plus, they still run revenue service.
they do. And
Well, that's a joy about running this '87 period as well, is that the Norfolk Southern was running steam excursions, so I could still run the J and the 1218, which is not running these days, but was running then. So I could, and I have a Class A already, so I just really need to renumber it to 1218. I could run the Class A or the J.
Well, why would it matter if it's running these days? If it had run an excursion service, who's to say they couldn't have had it rebuilt and still running it today? Are you going to get that picky, Andy? Just
yes, actually, so much so that I hung all over, and thankfully, Dan, one of the benefits of us hanging out in these rooms that we hang in, we can benefit from different people's
that
skill sets and research.
That Dash 9 that you just bought, that Dash 9 that you just bought from Dan,
the Dash 8 that Dan found, yeah.
If NS or bought with Dan, if NS crashes that thing, are you going to take it off your layout?
Well, I mean, it was running in 1987. I'm not modeling modern era. They were running in 87. It ran the whole year. This specific road number is one of the three that Scale Trains designed around the 87 to 90 period. So it has the right plows. It has the right detail for the 87 to 90 or 86 to 90 time period. I had to buy one of those three road numbers, and I had a hard time finding one of those three road numbers specifically. And I have pictures of this exact road number in 88 so that I could weather it to the picture.
there you go.
But if you were going to do modern day and they wrecked that locomotive, you would take it off your layout.
I mean, I suppose if I did modern day, but I would never do modern day. If anything, I would model. If I did anything, I would model 2019 or something. You can't model modern day because you can't redo the scenery on your layout as it progresses through the year. So you have to pick a month.
Not necessarily modern day, but modern era.
Yeah, but I have to be modeling something in the past. I cannot model yesterday. I mean, not reasonably. I can't model yesterday because, I mean, we're in the wrong season of the year. So the best case scenario for me, if I went as modern as I possibly could go, it would be May of 2019. That's as modern as I could go. Now, in 2020, I could, here in a couple months, I could go to May of 2020. But I can't model May of 2020 right now. I have no idea what the reality is going to be. I don't know how the railroad's going to be running trains, what's going to be running, what's going to be out there, what decisions they're going to make. I can't know those things.
Especially now.
Well,
That'd
yes,
actually be very interesting. Like a year from now, 2 years, someone actually models 2020 during this time of crisis, and what's running and what's not running.
So when you're modeling, say, like 1984, and you decide, like, say, a specific day in 1984, are you going to pull the car cards and waybills for those cars that were on the track that day, and that's what your operating session is going to do?
No, because I don't have that information. That information is not available to us, and you have to stop short of meeting first. You have to stop short of meeting the prototype because I'm not running prototypical link trains. I'm not doing all kinds of things that are prototype. I'm reusing cars in operating sessions and all kinds of stuff that we have to compromise because our budgets are unlimited, because the trains don't make us money. They take our money. because of distance and trade length and all kinds. We have to make sacrifices, but I try to not make any more sacrifices than necessary. So in 1987, during the savings and loan crisis, there were certain economic things that impacted the way the railroads operate, and I'm going to try to approximate those.
How he does, Stu? He just slipped in.
Well, there was also new rules that came into effect during the 80s too on train lengths and operating hours, and
I'm trying to follow those. That's why I'm running the 12-hour rules. 12-hour rules. But on my layout, as on most people's layout, nobody could run an entire shift. Nobody could grab a throttle and head out on the line and work 12 hours, even by fast clock. Even a 4-to-1 fast clock that I'm going to run. You can't go out and work for 3 physical hours. I don't have that much distance. So if you come to the layout and participate in an operating session where we run trains for, say, a couple hours, take a break, run for another couple hours, call it a day, you're going to operate over a 16-hour period, and you're going to run 3 or 4 different jobs. So you're basically going to be 3 or 4 different people that would have existed during that day. You may be a conductor on this train, an engineer on that one, a through train, a mine run, whatever. You're going to switch jobs.
Right, all right, Eric, I had a question for you. Are you actually running trains, or are you just playing with some?
Playing with stuff. I haven't got my DCC system in yet.
Well, I was going to say, I know you sold me the one, so I didn't know if maybe you got another one and got it hooked up already.
No. I'm waiting for my Aunt Christine to order it.
Seeing you sitting there with your phone and cars moving back and forth by their own, so I was like,
no, that's his finger.
Yeah. He's moving them one way, and then it looked like they're rolling the other way on their own.
Yeah, it's because it's on the
downhill grade.
Man, these cars came out so nice. The decals.
Yeah.
That Circuit City decals. Trying to change it up because with this car, he has the full railroad name on the side, just like boxcars would have it. And they decided to change it up and just have the actual logo in the center for his covered hoppers, and just had the AC and W, which I gotta fix actually. Yeah. But yeah.
But Eric, here's something I'm doing in the meantime until I actually Matt.
Are you downloaded JMRI on it?
Download Engine Driver, and it's hooked up to my DCC plug via JMRI.
Can you use the big wheel at the top?
Yep.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
See?
I can give you guys a quick tour of the layout.
One of the things those guys really did right over at ESU, among a whole lot of other things that they really do right, is that they made that throttle so that it can be used with any DCC system, so long as that you're using JMRI. Which, like I said about my proto throttle, I bought it with the JMRI connector because I have no interest in running my layout without JMRI. So
it looks like a complete mess because I don't have the scenery done, like this stuff. But yeah,
it's not a bad start. I mean, if you see people lay out, man.
Yeah, we get.
Oh wait,
this would be like a rock climb.
Yeah.
And up here, I don't know what I have. Maybe a small little outhouse or something. And then back there, I have a hill. I don't know if I'm gonna fill in those cracks yet or.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not a bad start.
That's a good size layout. It's very achievable.
Yeah. Yeah, this track, I'm gonna have Josh write a order sheet as to how you have to do it. because right here, you can only fit an engine in a car. You have to make 3 shove moves.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
What?
Nope.
I've had a layout to do the same thing back in Nashville.
That's a very
That's the way that switching layout's
prototypical.
going to be for my train pump I'm building.
And then over there, I have a roundhouse and a little engine shop. Right here's probably the best part of it right now.
The only thing I really need to try to do is figure out or get some of those working derails
Who in here
Oh
Mars
yeah,
skill that we know of?
that you can put on your.
Details West. Is that who makes? You're talking about the flip over style of derail, right? Yeah, I want some of
Yeah,
those too.
yeah, the ones that actually work. That way I can put them on
Well,
that switching layout, and that way when the kid, put the cars where they need to go, they can flip a derail in the way, and that way the car, if the cars decide to roll or whatever, they don't
you
go out
might
on the
want to
main
look
line.
at the Pico single point ones that you could just buy that already function. You just hook a switch machine to them. The ones from Details West that everybody adapts to be flip over, you have to build that mechanism. It's not hard and it's pretty well documented. And I'm going to use some of those. What I was going to do in 1950 was use the single point, where it's on the single rail, one of the points goes to the
Yeah, it's a
outside.
single point turnout.
Right, single point derail, and Pico makes that. So you can just buy that little 2-inch, 3-inch section of track, put it in, put a switch machine on it, just a ground throw, or whatever. But you can take those Details West flip over ones and build that wire mechanism to flip them over. Like I said, a lot of people do.
Well, I'm just thinking just be able to hand flip them.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way to do that. I haven't seen that done. Sure, it can be done though. Obviously.
Definitely.
That or some of the ones that you just you set down on the rail like the prototype does at different industries, or even just the placards that they stick on the rail to and then chalk the wheels on them.
Yeah, well, the blue derail side. Josh, AS Modeler 24, had some of those recently and pointed us all toward a really interesting manufacturer that makes signs out of a really thin stamped metal. I have not ordered it yet, but I'm going to order some cross bucks and stuff because they look awesome.
Brian W. said, print your own derails, Sandy. Buy that 3D printer.
Oh yeah, that's a really good idea. It's a really small part, but I can't see why that wouldn't be possible.
Hey, Marty just jumped in.
Marty.
Marty.
Like we talk about, it's always a party when Marty jumps in.
Good afternoon.
Howdy.
Party, Marty. I still can't get over how tiny that servo is.
Well, I've just had it in 1,000 pieces because I had to rewire the motor. I put the gearbox on the front, so the plate's on there with the gearbox. So now it's pivot pointers in the middle of the servo.
I was really curious. Did you video that? Are you going to drop a video about that rebuild?
No, but I'm going to buy another one, so I'll video the next one.
I'm fascinated with that process because I'm thinking about doing it for turnout motors. Convert them to the center. I don't have to have a fulcrum. I can direct attach them.
And that's the gear and everything at the front.
God, that's beautiful.
Pull it back so it'll focus.
Is it the reason why you not doing a video because you had to bleep out a lot of words?
Yep.
Yeah, the first time.
Yeah, well, I launched 1.8 millimeter screw across the train room, and I got on my knees with the Optivisor on and said, "This is ridiculous." And Lucky he sent me 3 spares. So
Speaking
the
of-
servo
Now you're down
component.
to 2.
So the servo component's done now. I'm
Speaking
still
of-
waiting for a couple of bits to roll up, but we might get the receiver and the speed controller in there this weekend and try and get it up and going.
All right.
Speaking of, has anybody seen my screwdriver case?
Yeah, your girlfriend's got it.
Yeah, I
See,
might
this is
have
one.
borrowed that.
This is why I don't show my videos. That's why you edit videos.
So that's
Does anybody in your residence have glasses, Joey?
Has what? One more time.
All right, Gino
Have
put
glasses.
Gino's got up here. Tim Garland has some of the Detail West that he hand flips on his Seaboard Central channel.
Oh, I have to follow that guy. It's one of the guys I mentioned last night in the chat to follow about the proto throttle. He's got a layout that everybody should be following his channel. It's a very cool, small switching layout. I mean, it's around the room, but it's awesome. Thanks, Gino.
Yeah, it's a small circuit board there, Marty.
a 128 speed controller to go in the car.
Really?
Well, what I want to know is why is Gino over in the chat and not in here?
Yeah.
Gino, he's shy.
So am I. I'm always blushing. It's just it shows up here, up in my head.
I don't believe it. That's right. I don't believe it.
This is ridiculous. I really can't find my case. Probably somewhere I'm like, oh yeah, that's where I put it.
That's the receiver.
Yeah.
Oh, here, there's the fell. See, I knew I had it somewhere. By the way, General makes a really, really nice drill. And just let me get my piece to work here. And it lights up. And it comes in a box like this. Trying to think of who. I think it's called General. It's a company. I don't know where. I got it as a gift, so I don't know where it is. But this stuff works really well. Because sometimes you really need just a manual screwdriver to really get into those tough screws that get stuck on underneath the trucks. But it works really well. So I totally recommend something like this. And it's a battery operated. I think it's AAA.
Tamiya has this little battery drill that's like $20 or something. It's got like a little pistol grip. It's really small, little plastic drill that's meant to basically replace a pin vise. That it's powered, but it's a real sensitive control, and it's pretty cheap. So I thought about it.
There we go. All right, I got those two.
What's that Tim Garland's channel?
Whose channel, Tim?
Tim Garland's. Gino was talking about. What's his channel?
I don't know. Okay, these wheels look good. They need some white, since it's a covered hopper for a cement plant.
He says Seaboard Central.
Oh yes,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, him. Okay. He's got
All
an
right.
awesome layout.
Yeah.
I just subscribed to it.
It's a good one. He done some of the best videos. There's a few people who've done it, actually, quite a few. He done some of the best videos on the Proto Throttle, 15, 20 minute, whatever videos, where he operates beginning to end with the Proto Throttle. And if you watch one of those, you'll get the difference in it at a regular throttle. How much it slows you down, how much you're kicking up the power, pulling into neutral, coasting, pulling the brake. It's a different method of operating. And the reason it excites me so much is the slowing down operators and making you feel like you're working with something that's a lot of tons instead of a pound.
And that's the whole idea, Andy. It's not having. I mean, you don't have to have a huge layout to spend hours operating it.
Yes, exactly.
And he proves that.
That's right.
A lot of guys do. There's a gentleman who has a shelf layout. It's all operations. I think he said for him. Gosh, I wish I could know his channel off the bat. I want to say he said I think 2 industries takes about 90 minutes to operate and switch out. And he goes, it's not a lot of time, but some time. I'm like, dude, man, that's a lot of time. 90 minutes to switch out 2 industries? Of course it is. That's awesome.
Well, that's fun stuff, you know. I mean,
Right.
I've watched a lot of different guys operate. When I was in that club many years ago, we'd have new people come operate with us, and you watch somebody get their little list and just bang through cars, just hammer through it. I'm like, this is not going to be the right fit for you. You're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to enjoy the challenges. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're not working in a way that would be safe on the prototype. Slow down. Let it be social. Enjoy the process. Think tonnage. Think that sucker weighs a lot and it's dangerous if you get it going. Feel that way. And it gives you those. I think somebody said it last night. I think Miles said it last night. And it was the very best thing to describe what I care about on my layout. When you're doing something, playing a video game, watching a movie, you've got to do all these things like suspension of disbelief and all these other things. But the key is occasionally when you're really into something, a video game or whatever else you're really into, you get these momentary glimpses of feeling like whatever the role is you're playing. You get a little glimpses of that happening. You know, you're not going to feel that way all the time. Your suspension of disbelief cannot be that strong. But I want to get that glimpse every now and then of somewhat feeling like what it's like to be an engineer in 1987. Now, you know, I'm not exactly going to turn the air conditioner down so that it's, 40 degrees or 35 degrees in here and put galoshes on. So I got to go out in the rain to throw turnouts. You know, there's a stopping point.
It took me, my crew, when I was a trainman.
The servo is installed.
Nice. But when I was a trainman on the Adirondack Scenic Railroad, for us to uncouple a locomotive from 3 passenger cars, go to the switch, call dispatcher, let them know that we're going onto the main line, switching the switch, locomotive going over the switch, and then reversing the switch and let the dispatcher know. Go run around the train, which is about 3-4 passenger cars, and then doing the same thing again in reverse with the dispatcher, switch to switch, hook up to the car, switch to switch again. It took 30 to 35 minutes, depending on the weather, depending on the engineer, and just sometimes the environment, or sometimes getting in touch with dispatcher. Sometimes they, you can't get in touch with them. That's just the way it is. And we all hear that when we're rail fanning or watching videos.
That's right.
So it takes about, for me, 30, 35 minutes. If we're in a hurry, about 25, 30. And that's only 5-minute difference. And just because you got to do all the rules and regulations, everything properly. So, and that includes bending down and uncoupling this, unlocking the switch mechanism, locking it back after switch. You get switch, you check, you switch the switch, and you check it again. So, and on a model railroad, you have to do that because you may have a little piece of ballast or dirt inside the points. So it takes about 35 minutes sometimes just to do that. And if you do it really realistic, I would say in a model railroad, you could probably knock that down to probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes the most, depending how long your train is, and hooking up and giving a 3-step and letting the air hooking up the air hoses, doing a safety stop, which is 1 car length before you hook up to the cars, and all that. So, when I did that on my little 13-foot in length, 13 by 1 foot layout, it took me 3 hours to switch out 2 industries and move cars out in and out of storage and blocking cars. Actually, I blocked a few cars in storage, so it takes a while.
Well, the point is, if you don't like the slowing down and you don't like the monotony of it, then that style of operations is probably not right for you. Now, there's a lot of different styles of operations, so you can still be an operator. Maybe you're just more of, like we talked about before. There's on a previous shows, there's the prototype side, or the more toward prototype, and then there's the more role playing side. Maybe you're more into the Dungeons and Dragons or role playing side of it than you are into the prototype side. Those of us that used to like to stay in track side and watch equipment run, I want to recreate that.
Right. And if switching's not your key, then mainline running is your operation. There's a lot of operations when it comes to mainline running. Speed restrictions. You have to wait in the hole for 2-3 trains to pass you. Make sure you're looking at the signals correctly. Maybe you have to pick up and drop off a couple of cars here and there. And you have a whole load of a train to run. May have to work on. May have to have pushers, man pushers on behind your train, or DPUs. So you still have to read out all the bulletin order and instructions, and you don't have to be switching cars in the yard. Your whole 3-hour shift may be just taking a train from staging yard to staging yard, and that's a handful sometimes.
And the point is, there's no one size fits all.
Mm-mm. I like both, to be honest.
Yeah, Gino just a little bit ago said that this is about Tim Garland. He's an engineer for Norfolk Southern. He explains prototype operations very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, his channel's really great because he goes through the nitty gritty of it. And honestly, watch one of those Proto Throttle channels, even if you're not interested in the Proto Throttle, because he'll go through the details of doing a 3-step stop and what it takes to pull out and apply the brakes, do a little air brake test, those kind of things. You can kind of figure out where on it's a spectrum, where on the spectrum you land for the operators. Right. Whether you're the guy who just wants to run trains and in an organized way with a few other guys, and maybe you have car cards, maybe you have switch lists, maybe you just do Mother May I, holler out across the road, hey, dispatch, can I go? Maybe you want to go from that level to the guys who really care about the details, all the way down to the guys like Lee Nichols. He's another one to look up. Look up Lee Nichols' layout. He has clerk positions, and he has software that does a lot of the clerk's positions. He produces all the proper paperwork. He has a room with desks in it. Even though he doesn't actually staff it with people there, there's actually different bits of paperwork that the computer simulates all those positions and spits the paperwork out. I'm sure most of us don't want to go that far, but there's a spectrum, and it's not as simple as I'm going to be on the far end here or the far end here. Mostly, it's going to be somewhere in the middle, and you got to figure out how far do you want to go, and at what point do you say, all right, that's good enough for me. I've got far enough.
Right. And another guy that I really like, is DJ's Trains. He's a CSX engineer. And he goes through, he does a lot of drone footage of stuff around Pittsburgh or around Pennsylvania itself. And also will show, who does questions and answers for being a railroader and an engineer, especially on CSX. And shows different bulletin orders. So if you're not a reader or you can't grasp it reading, you can watch videos like his videos or another guy's videos, which has realistic railroading questions and answers. You get a lot of information from folks like that, and you can do it with incorporate it into your layout, into your operation.
Yeah, you can
And
play with, you can watch the prototype, figure out the parts of it that are interesting. And it's not like it's not like a straight linear line I'm talking about where you say, I want to go this far. Figure out the parts that interest you.
right,
Recreate some of those parts. Fake the rest of it.
right, and that's what I would do if I had a big layout and I could have like 5 to 6 operators. If I did mainline running, I would do something like a Monopoly game where you have cards after certain. If you have a red signal, there's a card. You got to pick up a card. You may have a hot box, so now you got to stop at the next signal, or or you may have to wait for a few trains, or throw a little wrench or a curveball inside the operations, or your third end your what do you call it? One of your locomotives is overheating or died out. Now you got to wait for a crew to come pick it up. Another crew to come drop off a locomotive to put on a head end. So you can do little stuff like that too. So and actually, you don't even have to do that on a big layout. To be honest, you can do that on a very small 4x8 layout too. And to me, especially with a 4x8, folks are like, "Well, I can't do much on it." You could do a lot in a 4x8 layout. And yes, you don't have a lot of mainline running, but you can run your trains in loop, maybe 5 laps, and that represents it going somewhere for a while. And you
The
go
only
through.
challenge, the only
Right,
challenge to doing a loop is that, in my opinion, if you want to operate, you need to linearize your railroad. That's a verb, not an adjective. It doesn't say anything about the railroad. You can do it with any railroad, but take whatever your track plan is, cut it, and stretch it out straight, just in your mind or on paper is even better. Figure out where is the starting point, where is the ending point, even if that's a loop. There's ways to do that. But you need to be able to think about it and assign things in one direction because directional travel and stuff like that matters. But again, you can do that to just a big loop of track. It's possible.
right.
All right, well, we're about to hit the end of the 1 hour here. I wanted to find out what you got there, Lloyd. Putting more details on the building.
Oh, that's a building. Well, just little things. I noticed that this building had lights inside, and I had no inside. So I'm probably just going to do a little thing.
I'll
Just
put a
just
interior
for
in.
one window. And since I've been working on my utility poles,
Yep.
I just put one of those utility to hang up the wires.
Yeah.
It's just that's one of my pet peeves, seeing layouts with utility poles and no wires, or buildings not being fed. That's if you're talking about prototypical, Joe, Andy. If you're gonna put utility poles, you better put wires, or else I'm gonna come after you.
And they got to have some slack in them. They're not like banjo wires.
Yeah,
That's right. Which I agree completely with that. Which is one reason
Yeah.
I mentioned some years ago about the Rapido power line system they have, where you can just take them out of the box and it has a bunch of wheels on one side. And you can just stretch one after the other to set them. They set the slack in them. They're using Easy Line. Rapido stopped making them, and it's a shame because they are a first class product for anything,
yeah,
60s and 70s up.
Andy, this is a hobby. You should make your own. Forget about buying them.
You can't make everything.
Sure, you can.
I mean, you technically can, and I'm all for it. I would love to make everything. I just need somebody to introduce me to a vampire. I need immortality. Then I will build the railroad that I dream of. But until then, I've got to make sacrifices for money, time, you know,
No,
um,
I agree.
tolerance.
And there's the other thing too with telephone poles. Yes, if you have streets and everything, you definitely should have the wire. Um, if you're running a main line, and it depends on the era you're modeling. A lot of times you don't have telephone poles, or you have telephone poles don't have wires because they're just abandoned. So
Well, I'm not talking about train utility poles. I'm talking about utility poles. If you've got any building whatsoever on your layout, How is that building being fed electricity?
Underground.
Underground service. That's where I was going.
Okay,
Okay.
especially in the 1930s or 1940s.
Yeah, yeah, really.
I
Yeah.
do agree with you.
Yes, absolutely. And you don't want it's just like if you're weathering a freight if you start weathering a freight car locomotive, then you got to weather the track and like okay now I got to weather the buildings. So when it comes to building a structure, you got to look at what a structure has, and you got to do everything with it. Otherwise, there's always something that's going to look off in your eyes or someone else's eyes.
But I've said that before, talking about trees, football trees, weathering, freight car quality
Yeah.
that you buy. I favor consistency over a particular car. If you have a whole lot of AccuRail stuff, nothing against it. It's fine. By all means, use it. It's great. I recommend it. But you're not going to benefit that much from going and buying a $50 Tangent or Exact Rail Scale Transit car. You're not going to benefit that much. Consistency is more important. So whatever detail standard you set for yourself, do it. If you have all puff-off trees and then you go stick some really high fidelity tree on there, those puff-off trees are going to look much worse than the benefit that you get from what that one tree looks like. Consistency is more important than one thing being spectacular, in my opinion.
Right, and now we have all the technology to do it.
Since we're talking about consistency, I guess I better consistently end the show. Now we've run over an hour.
Oh, let's go 3. We got plenty of time.
Yeah, right.
We got nowhere to go.
Who's going to pay the overtime, Joey? You got to kick in.
I'll give you guys some acrylic paint. Well, actually, I need it. You can't give you that.
Yeah.
Well, looks like I had a good show here, and most of these guys are going to head over to the nightly chat room, and I'm sure Brian W. may be popping in. So you guys in the chat over, just follow Brian W. He'll lead you over to the nightly chat room. Have a good one, Gino. We'll catch you a little later on. Well, remind you, we got Who's Big Bill talk to next Wednesday night, the 25th. And he'll have one more show on April the 1st. Not Harley, Robert. Alrighty, so with that said, y'all have a good weekend. Be safe. Be healthy, I guess.
Yeah.
Stay home and work on your railroad.
See you guys.
Yeah, we shall see y'all next week on Wednesday night with Who's Big Bill talking to at 9 o'clock Eastern. Bill's got me doing that now. All right.
Night.
Have a good one.
Good night, guys.
See you, Johnny.